Hello there. Today on Take Two, I am talking to Linda Hay, who was a nurse for a very long time and has now switched over to hypnotherapy. So Linda, first off, can I ask you to tell me a little bit about that transition in your career?
Well, the transition came when I retired in 2005. I was a palliative care nurse for 25 years, so I did a lot of work in pain. And I had a friend who was very helped with chronic pain through hypnotherapy, and I knew nothing about it. So I was totally intrigued. So I went to Boston and trained, and lo and behold, I became a hypnotherapist. And I love it because I have 40 years of background in medicine with nursing, and I have a lot of years with grief counseling. So now I have a toolbox full of ways that I can help people in very different ways, like smokers and weight loss and anxiety and stress and phobias and chronic pain, things like that. So that's what intrigued me, was when my friend got rid of his pain in his back, I thought, wow, what is this? I thought I knew and learned everything in pain management because of the job I did as a palliative nurse. So that's what happened. And I haven't looked back for 1 minute since 2005. I find this the most incredible learning I've done in my life. So I do lots of different things.
What would you say to people who say, oh, hypnotherapy, that's just another one of those bogus fad type things? How do you counter people's cynicism about it?
Well, I certainly get that because people don't know anything about hypnotherapy. They know about stage hypnosis. So what I do is I turn it around and teach them about how we can use our own subconscious mind, which is a powerhouse, to help us with all kinds of things. You know, in my career now, I've stopped 500 smokers on the first shot. I mean, that's incredible to do it with your own mind and no patches, no drugs. It's quite something. So it's very satisfying for me as a hypnotherapist. And I love to teach. So that's what I do. I teach them that there is another way.
And given that we're now all living in this virtual world, can you be effective in hypnotherapy on a virtual platform? Can you do it over the phone, over Zoom, online?
I do all my work right now because of COVID over Zoom, but I don't actually hypnotize people over Zoom. That's my own choice. I think that's the nurse coming out of me. So what I do is I interview the person for an hour, finding out what their problem is. And then I go away and I create them a personalized hypnosis MP3 and send it via computer. Works beautifully. So that's how I'm doing my work right now. So when COVID's over, I'll go back to seeing people in person, but right now it works great. Lots of people, lots of hypnotists do hypnotize over Zoom, but I just choose not to.
Okay. So here's something that when I looked at your website, I was really intrigued by. I think people are familiar with the quit smoking hypnotherapy and the quit eating and drinking and anxiety and all of those. Virtual gastric band surgery. This is a crazy idea. Tell me about that. Where did it come from and how does it work?
It's incredible. I take a lot of extra courses. As I said, I love the learning. So this gastric banding, virtual gastric banding, was developed by a young woman in the UK, and she did a lot of research on it and has some pretty good results. So I took her course in Boston. That's our big training area, and Vegas. And so now I can offer people who need to lose a lot of weight, I'd say over 35, 40 pounds. That's when I would use this. And we literally put a band on their tummy like you would if you were getting surgery through a session that is so real. When I was learning it, I went through it myself to feel what it felt like. I was in the OR. I could hear the EKG machines going. It was so real. So we've had some pretty good results with it. Our winner man that's done it has lost over 100 pounds. And our winning female is up to 65 pounds now. And it's literally harmless. You do it through your mind. So we put this band on your tummy, just like you would in surgery. And your tummy becomes very small, like the size of a golf ball is what we tell them under hypnosis. And so they start eating very nutritious but small meals, and their tummy just can't carry anymore. So it's just like having that band on. So it's an 8-week program. We do a lot of investigating under perhaps emotional eating or why they gained the weight. And we do that work first and make sure that they're on the program wanting this. And then about session 4, then I put the band on, and then we do post-surgical care, as I would call it. So we've had a lot of success with it. It's quite fun for the client.
Wow, that is really, really amazing. And as you say, you've had some pretty astounding results on that. Is
Yes, we
this
have.
is this widely known, or are you one of the few practitioners maybe that's doing this?
I don't think it's widely known, but there are some Canadians that have been trained in it. So it just depends, if people are going to these big conferences and want to take that course. So I was certified in it a few years ago, and we've had some really good results. People love it.
Wow. Now, one of the other things I noticed that I really liked on your website, you made a comment about you have no particular special power, that the hypnosis actually comes from the client.
That's
You're
right.
really just the facilitator. So talk to me a little bit more about that.
Well, what people don't realize is that hypnotherapy is done through simple relaxation and guided imagery. So I just take them on a very relaxed visit to a beach or whatever it is. And as they relax further and further and further, they cross something called a critical factor between your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. And then when you're totally relaxed, your subconscious mind opens up to new suggestions, which after interviewing them, I know what they're having trouble with, whether it's insomnia or anxiety, whatever it is, phobias. And then I put new suggestions into them to help them with that. And then the big thing is for them to listen to that MP3 that I record for them over and over, because our subconscious likes repetition. So they listen over and over, and all of a sudden they start changing whatever it is that the problem is. So that's how it works. It's very simple.
Are there people who cannot be hypnotized or who are poor candidates, let's say, for hypnotherapy?
A lot of people say that to me. Oh, I don't think you can hypnotize me. Well, that's my challenge. I think I've had perhaps 2 people in 15 years that I couldn't hypnotize. And I remember one lady in particular came to me because she was not sleeping well. Well, her metabolism was so fast, she couldn't sit still on my couch. She was just moving all the time and couldn't relax. That's the only person that can't do it, is somebody who can't relax. So I tried her 3 times and she could not relax. So that's one of the 2 that I've had in 15 years. So if you can relax, you can be hypnotized. And it's so amazingly, it feels so good. People don't understand until they have it. Often I will do a practice run with somebody and just let them feel that wonderful feeling of relaxing so much, where you actually put your conscious mind aside and then your subconscious mind comes to the forefront, and we put in the new suggestions. And then with repetition over and over, listening to that MP3, because research shows that it takes 21 days in our mind to change a habit. So that's what I encourage, is them listening to the MP3, and then we see how they do. And then we work on something else, maybe around the anxiety, whatever is causing it, perhaps.
Is there an interaction between the listening again and again to the MP3 and the practice of mindfulness? Is that something that people could then continue on with their own mindfulness practice?
Well, that's certainly an interesting point. And I'm going to bring up something else that now they're calling me the Parkinson lady. And this is an area that's very interesting. My own sister died of Parkinson's a few years ago, and I'd never seen anybody present at any of these big conferences that I go to every year on Parkinson's symptoms. So all of a sudden, some guy in Vegas was presenting a case. So I flew to Vegas, I listened to his case, and I interviewed him after. And he really helped me know what to do with my sister, because she was having a lot of difficulty swallowing, and she had to swallow her pills crushed up in yogurt and still couldn't do it. So after I worked with my sister and she lived on for 5 more months, swallowing a little better, I came to Ottawa, where I'm from, and my neighbor had had it for 20 years. So I asked her if she'd like to work with me. I'd like to see if I could change her symptoms. Well, she did so incredibly well that 18 months later, I hired a videographer, and it's on YouTube now, showing how her symptoms turned around: her tremor, her gait, her walking, her pain. And she was not sleeping more than 2.5, 3 hours a night. So that was a huge breakthrough for me. So now with it on YouTube at 18 months, and I did another one at 5 years, because she's at 7 years now past working with me. And so I get Parkinson's people from all over the world who see that, and I make a personalized MP3 for them. And so mindfulness came to my mind when you said that, because they have to be very mindful of every step they take when they're walking, because often they freeze when I'm working with them. That's one of their big symptoms, and or their balance is off. So I teach them mindfulness. And then I teach them self-hypnosis so they can go down there, which is like meditating, and really think about each step they're taking when they're walking. So yes, it does come into it. And I often teach self-hypnosis to people for that mindfulness factor.
Before I let you go, because I hadn't realized the Parkinson's, I hadn't noticed that connection. Are there other situations that people might not automatically think of hypnotherapy that you would like to put in a pitch for? Are there other conditions that if people are struggling with, they might want to look at hypnosis?
Well, I work a lot now with an NLP process,
Mhm.
which is called trauma phobic cure. So I do a lot of work around trauma now and how it's connected to their problems they're having now. And it's fascinating. It's not even hypnosis, it's an NLP process, which stands for neuro linguistic programming. But I'm having a ton of success with that. So I help people that go back to sometimes before the age of 6. Maybe it's a phobia, maybe it's a trauma, maybe a death of a sibling. Just being referred to a little girl who has lost 2 little nieces that were newborns, and she's traumatized by this. So now I'll take her back and help her heal from that. So it's extremely exciting for me to help people that way. So that's another thing that I do a lot of, which is not quite straight hypnosis, but something different.
Right. Well, Linda, this has been absolutely fascinating. Thank you so, so very much. And I will encourage people to, what would they search under YouTube to find the video you were referencing?
My name, Linda Hay,
Okay.
Hypnosis and Parkinson's, and they should find it. If not, it's on my website, lindahayhypnosis.com. And there it is under testimonials.
There it is. Okay, wonderful, Linda. Thank you so very, very much, and all the best to you. And we'll talk again sometime.
I appreciate our time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye.